UK, get yourselves ready for Commanding General Yahanna and the generals of the I.S.U.P.K. will be hosting a monster week across the United Kingdom for the 2023 Feast of Tabernacles. Thursday, September 28th, 7 p.m., 12 Shield, General Mahiaman, Scripture Breakdown class, live from Edinburgh, Scotland. Friday, September 29th, tour of King James Castle, Johnny Walker Factory Tour, 8 p.m. I.S.U.P.K. opening of the Feast of Tabernacles, hosted by 13 Shield, commanding General Yahanna from Edinburgh, Scotland. Saturday, September 30th, 12 noon, street speaking, Bull Ring, Birmingham, 6 p.m. street party and barbecue at I.S.U.P.K. United Kingdom, 10 p.m. nightlife, Club Republic in Leicester, special guest performance by 144 The Rebel. Sunday, October 1st, 12 noon, street speaking in central London, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, London tour and boat ride, Monday, October 2nd.
All the way from 1 West 125th Street. We're not on yet. We are on. Oh, thanks for letting me know. I'm sitting here talking. Who knows what I could have said? Everything said nothing. I've been here 1, 2. You know, I could have started the human beatbox and stuff there. The black man take that. You know what I mean? 1, 2, 1, 2. What's going on, fam? I.S.U.P.K.com is the website. I'm Commander General Yahanna. I got the helm with the heavy hitters in the building with me. Give it up for General Mahiaman. Give it up for General Marka Alaka. Give it up for General Hazayan. Give it up for General Kabalama. And all the banging captains, officers, troopers, sisters, and children in the building with us. We all the way out from New York City, holding it down, and we amazed at the work that the brothers and sisters out here have done. That's right. Throughout this, you done done a hell of a job out here with this work of the Lord, man. Give it up for them, y'all. Karathia done worked this thing out something strong. And Karathia, it took faith to do this, because we wasn't know, this is our first time out here. You had to do this all in the spirit, within the brotherhood with all the other brothers and sisters, man. I just want to tell you how, like, it was a courageous, you a real soldier, brother. Right. For the Most High Christ. That's some great work. You know what I mean? And all the generals, you know, they're about to strip me down and beat my ass, because they're coming at me with everything they can think of. That, you know, they need this. You know, they want that. You know, how we gonna leave and not go get this and do that and take care of this? And when we plan the next one, we should come back next year. they shaking me down hardcore. But y'all so deserve it, man, because of the work y'all doing up in here. You understand? And all the work that y'all put together and been doing in here for the longest, man. You know what I'm saying? Especially at this time, you know what I mean, where we had some tragedy and some tough times with our brethren and all that have gone on, you know what I'm saying? It's been a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful, beautiful thing that everybody's doing. You know, man, don't worry, man. Remember what Christ said, none of his are lost. He ain't losing nobody, you know what I mean? Sometimes brother got to breathe a second to realize the worth of what he's dealing with, you know what I mean? So it's all good. It's all part of the process, you know what I mean? So we in the building tonight. We running in a little late on the UP, on the time over there in the United States. We on a whole different time zone, but everybody will be up in the building with us. We'll start off the first story, which is a big international story, if I understand right. And I'll pass it on and let the brothers all get into it. Where we going with it first? What's your first story on that list?
You want the first one?
Yeah, what you got, kid?
The judge terminates 2 High family conservatorship over former NFL player Michael Oher. depicted in The Blind Side.
And for those of you that may not know the movie The Blind Side, that was the movie where it showed the Edomite woman who took in the brother. I don't know if y'all heard about it on this side. They took in the brother and nurtured him up. He became an NFL star, and they made a whole bunch of money off the movie. Come to find out, they had a conservatorship with him and stole all his money.
Right.
And finally, he went to court now. Now that the movie came out, they made millions off of the movie, made tons of money off of the money that he had in the NFL. They came back now and turned around, and the judge finally shut down that conservatorship. Once again, that's the benefits of slavery. Here's the benefit, if I'm passing to y'all anytime y'all ready. Here's the benefits of slavery. You beat the people down into dirt. You give them no education. So they're struggling and they starving. And while they're struggling and they're starving, you get to pick which ones you see have some good talent. And they too ignorant to know how to deal with you. They too uneducated to know their rights and what they can do. So you use them up. Use them up, made big millions off of that movie. I think that movie made like $100 million. And meanwhile, the whole time he got no control over none of his money, living in her house. That's why slavery is such an evil thing. Slavery is such an evil, evil thing for you to be put in that captivity. And that's why every nation, even the Lord said we're going to put every nation in captivity. But even the Lord said after a certain period of time, you're going to be able to put those nations in their land and give them the rules of how they're going to govern on the earth. Even the Lord giving them heathens a break eventually. But they got to restore everything they destroyed on this earth. And that's what all this is about. This whole world is in chaos simply because the nations that rule over it keep it in chaos to keep being wealthy and powerful and rule. And Christ came to give us something that no other nation had, which is a roadmap for us to come out of captivity under our king. And it doesn't include anybody else. I'm sorry it don't include everybody else. I know what's coming out the walls, that every nation has to come together and people have to work together. But the Lord is not with none of that, because he knows something that you and I may not know. And that is, when we join these other nations, we become the slaves. Because we'll join, here's what we'll do. We'll join these other nations and we'll try to be peaceable with them in the same nation. Same way we are with Esau in America. We try to be peaceful, work with him and all that. But here's what we don't understand. He's not being peaceful with you.
Right.
He's plotting and scheming and trying every way he can to enslave you and bring you down. Which is why the Lord said for us to be separate. Come on, you want to?
Yes, sir.
I got Zechariah 11:5, because if you read down in the story, they claim that they innocent. You understand? They think that they ain't done nothing. It's Zechariah 11:5 said, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty.
They hold themselves not guilty.
And they and they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not.
So, like they saying, go ahead. No, go ahead.
They worked him like a mule. They worked that brother's whole life like a mule.
If I get somebody give me Psalm 36:3 real fast. Because what you're going to find in the mission that they do is who they are. Like, while you worshiping them, they committing a mischief against you. You have built this country. Your skill, your prowess. They see this brother was a mighty strong man. And it got paid off that mighty strong man's back. And did it through deceit. They lied to this man the whole time. And played off of him. And got paid off of him. And let me say what the Lord said about people like this here, man. And you got to know. Let me tell you something, Black and Native Indians. When you go into the scriptures, you got to understand that this is you. This is who you are. Stop looking at the book like it's somebody else. Look at the book like you are really in this book. And you're going to start seeing it a lot more clearer. Who got Psalms 36:3?
Come on,
read, brother.
Come on. Book of Psalms 36 and verse 3.
Go. Got him. He got things inside him that he say that ain't right. You understand me? That's not right. He gonna deceive you on what he's saying.
That's right.
Go ahead and listen. Just like how we did last week, sir, where they had that Olympics for kids, and that one sister didn't get an award. They tricked that young sister. Got her to perform Color What Comes, sir. Got her to perform. She flipping and flipping and all this stuff there and waiting for her medal. And gave her a score.
Right.
Inside of them is nothing but iniquity and deceit.
He had left off to be wise and to do good.
He left off to be wise and do good. The wisdom prophet said, you know what? That cat did a good job. You know what? Give him what he's due. That's what the Lord said. Give it to him, but they didn't do that. They lied. They set up bank accounts for their own kids. On the back end, the whole family got paid.
With his money.
With his money that he earned. You know what I mean? That's what happened. Continue reading, brother.
Another one, Khan. He deviseth mischief.
He divided what?
He deviseth mischief upon his bed.
He in the bed sleeping. What way can I get paid off this cat head? How can I get paid off this cat head? What's the other cat that's that rap mogul who push entertainers? His name is Leo Cohen. Now he an Amalek. He a so-called Jew. And they asked that man, how can you make all this rap music saying to kill black people? And what was his response? He got to feed his family. So we make negative music about ourselves. That promotes the killing of the nation, brothers and sisters, to pay for his family. He playing that sport when he's so paralyzed to feed their family. They in the bed at night devising ways. Yo, how can we get our people paid from this here? How can we get our children set up for life from this here? Oh, man, right here. They in the bed thinking about ways of doing it. And they did it. Continue reading, brother.
Another one, Khan.
That's what the, let me say something.
That's what the conservatorship was all about. Like why he was already living with them. Because the conservatorship makes money. It show you that you can't make it.
Yes, sir.
I was trying to wait hard. But listen, and listen, our president, like, so diabolically evil. We look at and say, oh, when you find out how you did something wrong, they see when they do these evil things. They completely understand when they do these things. They're okay with these evil things. That little girl that didn't see the 2022. 2022. And now her family, her mother and father, and her for a year and a half of and the news and the media, and for the story to finally go viral before the company over the Olympics sent them a little BS apology. Well, we don't tolerate racism, and we're sorry that this happened, and we're investigating it. 18 months later, they've been sending letters and crying and worrying for 18 months. You understand? Even that Amalek, the Jewish guy who run the music mogul. You know what I'm saying? He knows that he promotes drugs and promiscuous women and crime on rap, and he gets rich off of it, and he knows it. But it ain't his business. He don't care. It ain't his people. It's black people. You understand? We're dispensable. We're dispendable. What's the word? Expendable. We're expendable. You understand? You know what I'm saying? We can die, but it don't affect him and his world. So he knows it. It's just that they don't talk about it out loud. Now, when he was on the interview, and Charlemagne, I believe it was, asked him the question, well, you know that music promote death and destruction in the black community, paraphrasing, and you know it does all that. How do you feel about that? He tried to avoid it. Charlemagne asked him again till he finally just said, look, I got to eat. My family has to eat. It was arrogant. And then said, well, if you were listening earlier, I already said that he was upset that he asked him the question because it ain't supposed to be asked out loud. They just supposed to get rich, leave our community full of drugs and prostitution and different things, and we die while they make billions and billions of dollars off of our backs while we die.
and they don't give a thought about it, man. They know it's evil, but it's okay with them. It don't affect their world. Huh? I mean, that's like the double evil. Not only do they do the evil things, they know in their heart that it's evil, but say, all right, it's happening to them people, so that's all right. Like all the movies that show how the mafia and everybody else used to say, listen, we ain't gonna do that drug mess here in our community. Push that to the can I say push that to the Negroes. You understand? Push that to the Negroes and the Hispanics. Put that in their communities. Just make sure you don't do it here. That's what the mob bosses would tell their workers. Listen, if you're gonna do if you do that dope, you better put it in the Negro and the Hispanic community. Because if I catch it around here, you know, you're done. You're sleeping with the fishes. You understand? We was the expendable communities while they protected theirs. And they knew how evil it was. It's just that they don't give a damn because our lives don't matter to them.
That's it, sir. Come on, sir.
And if I could, real quick, General, to add what you said, it's heavy you brought that part out about the mafia. They slander us in every mafia movie. No matter which one it is, there's always a slander of some sort on us. To show you that they don't have a problem lowering us all the time. You know what I mean? So, which is why the Lord brought us together to raise us up and to lower them, finally expose them and lower them.
Like when they do their crimes, there's always just tell the cops a Negro did it. Right. Tell the cop the Negro took the truck. You know what I'm saying? Or stole the items off the truck.
Which for the gangsters on the street, that's training. It's like you training him on how to blame and hate us, but we can't say nothing about them.
It's something heavy. I was watching, I watched that series Godfather of Harlem with the guy with the slanted eye. I forget his name. Hell of an actor. Forrest Whitaker, right? I love his acting. You know what I'm saying? But Godfather of Harlem. Oh man, what part was I talking about? The mob working with Bumpy Johnson. You understand? So he had a big business partner to ship him all the drugs, but he said, "Listen, I can't give it to you because you're black." You know, and if my country knew I was working with a black guy, you know what I'm saying? They deal with me. You understand? So although they're friends, although you're a good guy, I know you'll make plenty of money. I just can't do it because you're black. You got somebody else that I could, ship the drugs to? He said, well, I got an Italian friend. So he went to the Italian friend who said, well, no, I can't do it, man. It's just, we don't do it. We no blacks. I can't partner with you. You know what I'm saying? And it was a whole mess. He had to find a heathen to really be the front man of this illegal enterprise, because even the criminals don't want to put your name on them, on their report. You know what I mean? It's like,
and they the criminals. Right. Like the criminal he ain't got no other code, but there's a code to not work with you. Like, every other code, he ain't keeping none of them codes. He killing, murdering, extorting, pimping, all that. Arson. But one code he gonna keep. Don't work with you. Like, come on, man. Like, what would it be like if we were that way? Could you imagine? What would it be like if we only worked with us? If we only built businesses with us? If we only rented to us? If we only did all, it would be incredible. It would be incredible. And listen, and not only would it be incredible, but that same football player we keep mentioning, that brother would have somebody that cared about him. Because the black community would have been like, well, who's managing him? Like, don't nobody say that. Who's managing him? Who's, who's making money off of him? Where's he? What's his status? That would be the case. And so, because that's the same with Mike Tyson. You couldn't just get a fight with Mike Tyson. You had to go through, what's the brother's name? Don King. But Don King was the Italian's puppet. So you had to go through Don King. But you had to go through Don King because the Italians ruled Don King. So you still had to go through it. Even his podcast now, I can almost guarantee you, you go look and run down the history on that podcast he's on now, is probably run by the same Italians that he was dealing with in the boxing world. But imagine if all of that belonged to us. All of us belong to us. That's what Christ's goal was and is to this day. And we're gonna get back to that. Where we going next, y'all? We going to Great Britain or what we going?
Come on. Black woman grabbed by throat during incident in Peckham shop. Police are investigating an incident at a hair product shop in South London, where a video posted online apparently showed a black female customer being grabbed by the throat by a man attempting to restrain her. The Metropolitan...
Let me just explain this to Commander General Yahanna. This is something Captain Mashak and Officer Karathia had brought out earlier. This is a gigantic story over here, sir. This is Peckham is like what neighborhood? What kind of neighborhood is that? That's a West Indian neighborhood, correct? And in what area in London?
South London.
In South London. And so a sister, of course, the Pakistanis over here, they sell hair to the West Indians, just like over in the States, right? And so she's in the store, and the Pakistani man is accusing her of stealing, but in actuality, she's not stealing. Is that right, Karafia? What was she doing? Returning something? She was returning an item. She was not stealing, but the Pakistani man accused her of stealing and began to restrain her and not allow her to leave the shop. Now she's saying, I'm not stealing. She's trying to leave the shop. He grabs her and chokes her. Explain the choking too, Karafia.
Bigger than her.
Go ahead.
The man was bigger than her. Said she can't return the items. She said, I'm going to return it. And then started to attack her and choke her. At one point, he choked her like mid-speech. So you heard her kind of, yeah.
She, because her throat, she stopped breathing in the middle of her speech.
Come on.
He's choking her and then choked her, and it's all on film. And it was a big thing over here in the UK, correct?
That's right, sir. Kind of
the video for the brothers and sisters online. But if I could, sir, it's a very similar story that you've seen for years over there in the US, where usually in America, it's a Chinese person or a Korean person that abuses its patrons who are Israelites, who are West Indians, or so-called Negroes or so-called Hispanics, even though their very livelihood is made off the backs of those people.
Right, bro.
Give it up, y'all. We're going to read that story out. Because once again, that's one of those stories. Let me tell you something. If you wake up and find out the truth about the Bible, you better understand something. All roads lead to your own individual identity of the lost 12 tribes of Israel. And this is also another good example. You wonder why you got a lot of white black women out here in the US and the UK? Because a lot of sisters out here don't feel protected. And they don't feel protected because, of course, they're not protected. Because protection don't just mean protected by just the average brother. It means being protected by your whole community. And first of all, if she got to go into a store and buy her hair from another heathen, right there alone, she feels vulnerable. Even if it ain't conscious, it's subconscious that she going to a heathen to get her items. That in itself make her vulnerable. And then if she have a problem in there, there's no brothers around. And a lot of these hair stores, they got the windows all covered up with paper and plastic. Y'all notice that? Because they don't want you seeing the guns and knives and whatever else they got up in there. So she already feels vulnerable. And then here's the gut-wrenching part. The gut-wrenching part is these heathens know that there's one woman they can put their hands on and get away with. And that's a black woman. That would never happen to an Oriental. Would never happen to an Arab. Would never happen to a... Check the news. It would never happen. It happens to a black woman because that's the one that they know, believe you not unified under. Y'all ain't gonna come together and deal with them on this. And the reason you don't come together is, once again, because everybody's subject onto these heathens. Everybody's subject to these other nations. So since you subject to them, you don't have the wherewithal to say, yo, we got to have our own. We got to protect our own. Where's the black hair store? In what was that area? Peckham. Where's that at? Now let's be honest. Can we be honest for a minute? If that exact same thing happened to a white woman in that same store, what would happen right now?
That's right.
They'd be packing up their belongings. They'd be packing up them funny furniture they be having and all that stuff, and them old funny pillows and all them incense. They'd be packing that crap up and heading back to where the hell they came from, because they would know that the wrath nearly of God was coming down on them for putting their hands on a white woman like that.
That's right.
You understand? And we ain't talking about just knocking the stuff out of her hand or wrestling it out of her hand. We're talking about grabbing her by the throat like you're gonna kill her. You only do that when you don't believe no repercussion is coming. You can act crazy as you want to be. You ain't crazy when it comes to life and death.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And so, lucky General, on the news, they interviewed him, and he said, I didn't really choke her. It just looked like I was choking her.
Imagine that. Meanwhile, she gasped on tape, and you put your hands on a black woman's neck. First of all, put your hands on any woman's neck that you don't know.
That's right.
Is like ridiculous. But you grabbed this woman by the neck. Even if you claim you didn't choke her, you grabbed her by the neck. Like that's like a death move. And brother, that comes from us always being exploited by somebody else. That's us always being that way. Always being stripped of our identity. Always being belittled. Let me tell you something. I'm an expert on propaganda. And I was shocked when I came over here to the UK and I watched the news. And as I'm watching the news, I'm seeing the same propaganda that's been perpetrated in the United States since the 60s. And it takes a good eye to pick up on the propaganda. But I'm watching it and I see all the propaganda that's in this news against you. A lot of these humanitarian stories that you think are great stories about how they helping black people or how they doing something positive to black people, a lot of those stories are propaganda stories to make you appear inferior. A lot of them are stories like we're giving special treatment for inner city people for better education. In other words, you need help with your education because you're too dumb. So we are humanitarians and we're going to help you with your education. Stories like that are propaganda. Stories like that are to belittle you, even though they appear as though there's something else. Certain news stories on rotation. I know there's something else. There's a ton of stories on the news. There's an African girl whose family's from Nigeria who they just murdered. She was on her way to school or something like that. It was middle of the daytime. Some guy stabbed her to death. And I noticed they never showed the guy who stabbed her. They never showed who did it. You know why? He ain't black. He's not black. So it doesn't feed the propaganda narrative. If he was black, oh, they would have jumped on him. Camera would have been all up in his face. They would have given him the perp walk with the handcuffs on. They would have showed like, see, these black people are a menace. You got to do something about them. Brothers and sisters, we got to find our way back to us and us alone. You can't, and something else, General, you brought out earlier in the class that was so heavy. When somebody online asks you about, could we be racist? It's impossible for us to be racist. Because listen, if we are racist, then the white Jews who fought against Hitler and who did not want to stay in Germany and wanted a land of their own, they have to be the biggest racist. Because anytime you want to get away from the man that's oppressing you and you consider the racist, then that means you can't never stand up against the man oppressing you. Right. Because otherwise you're a racist. Like how can I be a racist when I'm fighting you hurting me? Like before you can call me a racist, we got to get on the same playing field. Now we're on the same playing field. If I treat you bad, then guess what? I am a racist. But if we're not on the same playing field and you're oppressing me and I come up against your oppression, I'm the racist? How am I the racist? When you hurting me, that's propaganda, man. That's propaganda against us. And our people is so painful in their soul. We so want peace. We want peace with this. You know what? We're like a really real jilted lover. We've been told a good lie about life will be amazing here and special and we'll be loved and be all that. And since it hasn't arrived, we are so angry and want it to arrive instead of realizing it will never arise. And then we got to now turn to ourselves and follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. Salaki, go ahead.
Yeah, what you saying is so happy. Because we want so much peace that we're willing to give up the kingdom.
Yes.
If you saw nothing.
Yes.
If you're pressing nothing.
Yeah, yes.
We're willing to give it up.
And if I could just add to what you just said, which is so heavy, Nathak, is this. Like they got this kingdom not because it just happened.
Right.
They got this kingdom because when they saw you on this land and other lands, they said to themselves, I want to bring them down and rule over them. They didn't say, I want to have peace with them. I want to be friends with them. Nothing was built like that. Nothing was built that way, especially not the United States. The United States was being ruled by Great Britain, was it not? They killed those British soldiers that came off them ships in York. Them British soldiers came down to rightfully rule over the city of York, which belonged to the crown. And those Americans killed those soldiers. Why? Because they wanted a kingdom of their own. They wanted it for themselves. Okay, under their Freemasonry philosophy, they wanted to rebuild Egypt again. So they took that land from them. So we didn't end up in this condition just happenstance. Somebody wanted it. Somebody said, yo, I want this. I want to build a kingdom here. I want this land. And they went and got it. And we don't want that. We don't want to see that. But I got bad news for you because Christ said this, it's going to be a time of trouble like you have never seen before. You'll see the vengeance of God on a level you have never seen before because the Lord is angry with this earth. And ain't nobody going to wonder who did it. When them tsunamis come, ain't nobody wondering. When that earthquake came in Turkey and killed 10,000 people, 30,000 people. In that earthquake over there in Libya, dropped 30,000 people. Ain't nobody say who did that. They knew who did that. And the same is going to apply. We got to find us back to us. And it's going to offend people. Some people going to be mad like, yo, why you ain't joining the melting pot? Why you ain't in it with everybody? And the people that say that, sometimes they sincere because they are prospering in the melting pot. Life is growing for them in the melting pot. But they don't understand why you can't join the melting pot. You can't join the melting pot because life doesn't grow for you in the melting pot. That's not how it works. For you. For them, yeah. For you, no. What's the proof of that? Look at the LGBTQ community. They've been around, 3 years? In the United States, brother, they got laws in the United States. Do you know if you slander somebody from the LGBTQ community, you can get jail time. You can get jail time for hurting their feelings about their sexual orientation. That's unheard of in the United States. United States is the land of free speech. I don't want to run on. But my point being this. When the slave master decides what is important, that prospers in the melting pot. But when the slave master decides something that's not important, that does not prosper in the melting pot. That declines in the melting pot. And unfortunately for you, especially a black man, unfortunately for you, you're not desired by the slave master. So you're not going to prosper in the melting pot. So you got to come together and create your own pot. And that's the lost 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Yeah. And can I just add one last thing? Y'all heard me say this before. What's so amazing to me is this. As devastated as blacks and Latinos have been in both the United States and the UK, nobody will even give them the benefit of the doubt that they give to the whales, to the dolphins. You understand? To the lions in the interior of Africa. These animals are halfway extinct. I watched today. It was amazing. I watched today. They brought a ship into the harbor of London, right off the coast. And this ship had 10 million clams on this ship. It had so much clams on the ship they had to use the bucket crane to pull them up. And they poured them out around London. And you know why they said they did it? They said at one time it used to be filled with these clams. I don't eat them, so I forget what they call. They clams, right? The little shells. Oysters. That's the proper term. And they said it was filled with these oysters. And because of it, the oysters ate all the poison up on the bottom of the water, and it cleaned up the water, which allowed other species of life to come into the area around London, which meant they could farm that other fish. But they said because the oysters had been farmed so much, the water got so poisoned that all the other life moved out. So they put the oysters back to bring back all the other life and let it prosper. Why that can't be done for you? You ain't even as good as an oyster. You ain't even as good as an oyster, man. They're gonna make them oysters. They brought them oysters from, and listen, and then what was amazing is they had volunteers with wire brushes. Before they put these 10 million oysters in the ocean, the volunteers were scrubbing from wherever they got them from. They were scrubbing the oysters and taking all the barnacles or anything off the oysters and then throwing them on the ship. They did that for 10 million oysters, and then dropped them freshly cleaned oysters all around London to bring back the ecosystem. And what about you? You can't even get a little relief from the oppression that you're under. You can't get no relief from all the hell that's come down on you. You can't have a crumb that you control by yourself. You can't have an industry except selling drugs. You can have that industry, but no other industry. And like you brought out real quick, I know I'm hogging, y'all forgive me. But like the industry you brought out, the hair industry, they got whole industries for these different nations. Right now, South Korea controls all of the hair care products in the Black community in the world. In the world. Them old Afro picks you buy, them hot curling combs you buy, all that dark and lovely. I know they ain't got dark and lovely no more. But and the sisters laughing at me, dark and lovely. That was 30 years ago. That was good, right? Like dark and lovely, all that stuff. They control all that. You can't have one industry, man. You can't have one. All the hair being imported, and in the United States, they run it. Not only do they sell all the products, they also run the stores. And your woman gets to go in there and feel unsafe while somebody come and grab her by the neck. And you telling me to join, that I'm wrong, I'm racist, I'm evil. I should be joining other nations. I should love all people. God died for everybody. I ain't buying it. I don't buy it for a minute. And listen, the minute I smell it, I already know you slave material. The minute I smell some, minute you bring some old funny looking thing saying, I'm telling you, she an Israelite. I go to behind her, something don't smell right. Like something wrong here. You understand? The minute I smell it, I know that in your heart you a slave. In your heart of hearts, you a slave. And like you always bring out, you can't love your people on the level you should and love the people that's oppressing. It's just an impossible thing to do. You know what I mean? Salaki, that was a great story on what happened to this sister, man. And was you able to play the film? Beautiful. Everybody got to see it. We'll look at it later too. So, Lock, you want to move on? Because I'm hogging up all the time. You got any more from UK? Beautiful. Let's do it.
Cancer. Popular elderly black man fatally stabbed in race hate crime in Bristol. Brown has been described as a familiar and popular figure in the local area. A woman has been charged with murder after a black man in his 60s was stabbed to death in a race hate crime in Bristol. The victim, named as Hubert Brown, 61, was from Easton.
Go ahead.
Was from Easton in Bristol. He died from a stab wound after being attacked in Grosvenor Road, St. Paul's, on Friday, the 1st of October, just before 3:20 p.m.
Now listen, I'm hearing everything you're saying in this story, and I'm waiting to hear one thing. Who was the attacker and where was he from? Let's see if that's even in the story. Go ahead.
It's like you say, if I may. In St. Paul's is a Jamaican settlement in Bristol.
But who was the
attacker? According to reports, after the attack, members of the public helped to detain the woman before police arrived on the scene. Christina Howell, 36, of Easton, remains in custody and will appear at Bristol Magistrates Court today.
How could there have been a racial attack if they both was black? Exactly. Right. They ain't saying that, right? They ain't gonna say why it was a racial attack. They ain't gonna say what proof they have that it's a racial attack. They ain't gonna say what ethnic group she was. They ain't gonna say no statement that she is. Now get me right. Maybe Britain is better than the U.S. Let me know. It ain't in there, of course. So now you know you got a racial attack, but you don't even know who the ethnic group is that's attacking you. But you turn on the news every evening, and you can best believe they making sure they show you the black man that robbed this store, the black man that mugged this person, the black man that snatched that purse. Oh, you gonna know about all of those, but you're not gonna know Slocky. Anybody want to jump in? Jump in. Please.
If they're calling it a racial attack, then that means that she stabbed him because of his race.
Yes.
Like it wasn't a robbery or attack because of this. Meaning this story is an oppressor that stabbed this 61-year-old Israelite because he was an Israelite.
But meanwhile, they never bring it out.
That's right.
You understand? They never bring it out. And brother, I'm not saying we should be doing the same, but we should for sure prefer our own.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Go ahead.
It's like you say, it's heavy what you're saying, because the point I was trying to make is this is a Jamaican area.
Right.
So a white woman's come in and stabbed a Jamaican brother. But if we went into one of their areas and did that, that would be all over the news on every station, broadcasted all over the country.
Stealth bombers flying over the top. They be telling you London's under attack.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that 61-year-old brother, and listen, show you a real predator. She was a real predator. He's 61. He probably up in age. She probably younger, stronger, faster. Thinking of herself, oh yeah, that's a good one. Right. And creep up on him and take his life.
Carter Concert, she's in the mid-30s, sir.
There you go. I mean, you ain't gotta even tell us. We can see it. Go ahead, Al.
And Salaki, if I could, that it goes to show that it ain't just the men, like it ain't just the oppressors men. It's their women also, because a lot of people think that it's just the so-called white man, but the white woman she's innocent, she's free of guilt, but
That's right.
So like you say, it's the children as well. It's the children as well.
If it was one of us in their neighborhood, the police would have been called as soon as we got out of the car.
That's right.
You understand? We'd have got out of the car. We wouldn't have been able to get too close in their festivals or their little community things, because Karen would be calling the police or running up to you saying, where do you live? Are you from here? Let me see your ID. You're like, who the hell are you? Let me see your ID.
That's all right. And they have to teach their people to hate us. You know why? Because if they don't teach their people to hate us, their people might want to give us justice. Their people might be like, well, look, we rich, we got wealth, we own giant nations. Why don't we just give them, their portion of whatever they lost and go on with it? But they can't do that, because if they give you a portion of what you deserve and what you've suffered under, then you might grow greater than them. And if you grow greater than them, then they got another problem. Go ahead,
So like you said, for me, a couple of weeks ago, I did the security at a travelers party. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but the travelers are the gypsies of the UK and Europe. And the adults in the gypsies community are teaching their children not to call us black anymore, but brown. So I was at this children's party securing the vicinity, and the children were upset about something. I was told not to let them outside. They started calling me a brown bastard.
Right.
A brown bastard. And I thought, well, there's not much difference in it. It's the same racism. And these are people that scrutinize themselves against the English. So it just goes to show you it's on every level, sir. It's on every level, even the children. And they're not taught any better.
Right. They're taught exactly what they're supposed to learn to protect their empire and step on you. You understand? Sloppy.
Also, too, that's to let you know what you got to do with your children. Now, you see what they're doing with their kids, right? You're supposed to be at home teaching your kids who they are and where they come from and their heritage.
That's
so
right.
They know that they really royalty. They ain't the filth and scum they see on TV. All the negative images you see on TV of us and our kids, they got to know that we are not them. You know what I mean? They got to know that they are somebody more, better, important, special to the Lord. They got to understand that, live that. And they go about their life day to day in this society that we live in, a precious hell we in right now. They got to know that they are royalty. You know what I mean? They are special to the Lord. They got to understand that. And you got to drill it inside them. So when they encounter these different types of kids or environments, they know inside themselves they really royalty. They're going to carry themselves that way. And they're not going to let them disrespect them and just take it like everybody else has been or we've been for all these years.
That's right.
Give it up for hard. You know what I mean? So, and meanwhile, like I said, the African girl, I mean, that's all over the news. They want to make sure she get justice. They got her face all over the news to make sure. All right, it's a lot. What else we gonna post? It's a lot.
Come on, sir. The next story from Sky News. It could be the last time we truly celebrate Windrush properly. DJ and broadcaster Trevor Nelson speaks to Trevor Phillips. It's like, I believe this is a video. Let me try to get this dude. Slacky, come to shot.
Okay, so for time's sake, the Windrush, of course, is the name. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lori, from Leicester, right? Windrush are the names of the boats that brought the first Caribbeans over here after World War II. Like you said earlier, sir, the Luftwaffe had bombed Great Britain and through the Blitzkrieg, and so much of the empire was in shambles. Right. And so they needed workers. They went to the Caribbean islands, filled the boats up with workers, brought them over here to Great Britain to rebuild Great Britain. And the boats that they were called, or the boat, was called the first ship was called the Windrush. So they've been over here 50, 60 years. And so recently they went and deported all of those people that came over here and built the country. Leicester.
It's like you said, if I may. Yeah, it was in the 50s and 60s, sir. Post World War II. They brought the women over first because we had they had in the country, in the UK, they had war, what they call now war veterans with missing limbs, and the Edomite women in this country didn't want to be carers and nurse these men. They thought it was filthy. They didn't want the minimum pay. But our women came from the West Indies and were happy to do it, sir. Happy to do the work that the white nurses wouldn't do. And that was part of the Windrush. And they saved for a decade and then sent for their husbands, their children. And that was the Windrush, sir.
Brothers that, from your grandfathers, your fathers.
Can't, sir.
Related to the Windrush.
Can't, sir.
I mean, amazing. Give it up, y'all. Give it up for the Windrush. Amazing, like the amazing love that they received from the Lord's chosen. Got the oil to them, the fuel to them to fight in World War II. Then after they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and got Germany to surrender, then turned around and sent our wives over there to go nurse their soldiers that was wounded and destroyed back to rebuilt them their country. Then the husbands came over there, and a Benjamite, he worked all, wired and built the whole country up brick by brick, brought the country back, you know what I'm saying? And put them back up just for them to turn around and say, screw you, which is once again why even the Lord in his mercy said every nation, he gonna put them in their own land. You know what I mean? Like he don't have to give a heathen nothing. But even the Lord knows that for the benefit of everybody, I'm going to give them a portion. They're going to still pay me, but I'm going to give them eventually a portion after they fix everything. That's what they're supposed to do for us. After you rebuild, which first of all, you ain't even supposed to have to rebuild their country because you ain't the one that bombed it. Why all them Germans who was slaves, why they didn't build it? Why didn't they make Germany bring all them Nazis over there and bring them in chains and make them go build? Instead, they flew them to Argentina and let them open up all kind of businesses and factories and preserved all the German companies like Mercedes-Benz and BMW, Bavarian Motor Works, and all them companies got preserved. Go ahead, Sloppy.
So like you said, sorry, even with the history, it lets you know that England was losing the war. So then they called on their colonies and they said they didn't want black people harming white German soldiers. So they said they was offended that they was harming their enemies. So they didn't even want them in the army anyway. So when they came, they would let them do like the trench work. And then there was like wait
a minute, let me get this right. The Germans, the Nazis were bombing England into the ground. And they still didn't want the brothers from the Caribbean to harm any white Germans. Amazing. Like, amazing. They losing their country, but you don't touch a white man. That's amazing. Go ahead. I'm gonna come back to you. Go ahead, Kyle. Come up and get the mic real quick, and I'm gonna bring it right back.
Like I said, and may that speak volumes to the Bible too, because it's like the Nazi in history are notorious, like the cruelest murderers on the earth, and you still can't touch them. Like the Marker Cain, Salaki.
They didn't want us to feel the glory of slaying the enemy. But they don't want you to ever feel that glory, because they know that glory, which is when you get pulled over by the cops and mistreated and you wonder why that's happening, that's so you could never feel putting your hand around that German neck like he put it around that sister neck. And you want to say, I want to feel that. You know what I mean? The way he put it around that sister neck. They'll never want you to feel that. Not a thought, please. I'm going to come back to you. You got to get the mic though.
It's like an animal, right?
Yeah.
That tastes blood.
Yes.
And the nose is like, me Benjamites, we had dog and we had chickens in the yard.
Yeah.
We know if that one dog killed that chicken,
you gotta get rid of him.
Yeah, he gonna kill the rest of chicken.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
you gotta kill that dog. So
yeah.
The chicken's all in danger.
Oh, he had a, you know what I mean?
But y'all bringing my accent out. I be noticing. These bitches like read each other's minds. I noticed when they talk. It's true, man. I don't know where it comes from. You just get stirred into the conversation. You know what it is? It's the wolf
Because I think he finished. I ain't not
like, man, that's amazing. They done bomb your country. Now you got to go to the Caribbean to get oil to survive on these Germans, and you still make sure they never touch the Germans during that time. And remember, in the United States, I don't know if y'all know about this, coming right back to you now. In the United States, it was a big thing because they were bringing the Germans, the German captives. They was bringing them into North and South Carolina, and they were feeding them in the restaurants in the South. And we didn't have civil rights, so we had to go around the back of the restaurant while the German captives were brought to the restaurant and fed, and the restaurant was paid by the government. But you still had to go around the back. Listen, and on top of it, when you came home, you got beat up by the Southern whites who hated us. They would beat brothers up, strip their uniform off of them, throw them out the trains. They'd be coming in on the trains. They'd grab them on the trains, strip their uniforms off of them, throw them off the train. But them Germans you couldn't touch. Salakia. Go ahead.
So they also had war cemeteries as well. So if you died in war, they had a cemetery where you get a nice gravestone. But then all the black soldiers, they was buried in unmarked graves. So they're not in the same cemetery as the white soldiers. So a man done some research and has gone to the graves, and they're all unmarked. So when you look at the top black soldiers, I think his name was Watertull. They claim that they never recovered his body. It's because they could have recovered it, but they didn't want to. So when black soldiers died, they just buried them in an unmarked grave, and then the oppressors, they get buried in a nice grave. But then the ones that did survive the war, after the war was over, they didn't give them jobs. So those brothers that was war veterans had to sell their medals to Edomites that never fought in the army.
Wow.
And they got nothing to show for it. So it's okay.
Wow. Y'all heard that? So you a soldier, you just fought. You fought. Now listen, you a black soldier. And as a black soldier, you get a medal. You know what it takes. For you to get a medal as a black soldier, that's ridiculous. Now you get a medal as a black soldier and you come back and can't get a job. And because you can't get a job, you got to sell your medals to white soldiers who did not do the job you did. They get to come home to their family with your medals on their chest. Brother, and you telling me I'm supposed to think of everything as a melting pot? Ask me that after I built Christ's kingdom. That's right. Then talk to me about we should, be friends. We should be friends. Don't talk to me about being in a melting pot when I got no power to stop you from oppressing me. Talk to me about it when I got power to say to you, no, you're not gonna oppress me. Then we talking. Now we talking. Let me tell you something. A perfect example of that is those countries in Africa you're hearing about right now. Them countries in Africa are doing what they're doing because they got Russia's protection. Before they had Russia's protection, they had to close their mouth. They had to sell everything to France. Now that they got Russia backing them, now they done got, you see, they having news conferences, cutting off pipelines, cutting off resources, stuff like that. Why? Because now they have the power to say yes or no. As long as you don't have that power to say yes or no, you stuck in that slavery. Which is why, we got to return Christ's kingdom to him, man. You know what I mean? We almost done. We got a couple more, right? So somebody was trying to say Let's go. So I just recently found out that in the UK that October is the so-called Black History Month.
Right.
Okay. So this is the beginning of the Black History Month. But the problem is this. You understand? Some Ghanaian-born Akaya Adaya Sebeo, who worked at the education office for the Greater London Council, was the one who started it. So, you know what I'm saying? What they do is they try to usurp you.
You understand? The only ones that get down with you is the so-called Negro in North, Central, and South America, and the Native American Indians or what have you. But they got usurpers out here. These Africans are getting over top of us. Now they want to be the creators of Black History Month. When you know that was strictly us. You understand? But they want to, cop it and then make it seem like it's so important. Okay, and then another story that I just pulled out is about some other Ghanaian who they saying was an abolitionist all of a sudden. And meanwhile, you understand, we the only ones that really give a damn about whether or not brothers and sisters recovered from the slavery and oppression that we done been under from these devils or what have you. But they pushing Africa. You understand? They want to take everything. We got to join together with one another. You understand? Because they are just going to take all of the glory, go home or what have you, be over top of you. Like a African, it's got to be over top of you. Like, you in hell if he got to be over top of you.
Right. That's right.
And to piggyback off of General Cabal, there's a big push of Africanism in the earth today. It's because of you, I.S.U.P.K. You soldiers and your teachings, you spreading all over the world, man, with the truth, man, telling Black people that they are the Hebrew Israelites. They're the 12 tribes, and we are not African. That thing is spreading. You understand? You telling people that you are born Jews. You the real Jews. So they got to look at that. Well, if he's a born Jew, what kind of Jew are those guys? You understand? If you're a real Jew, who's the fake Jew? And you putting questions in people's minds, and the government, no, you ain't supposed to be talking about these things or finding out these secrets. You understand? And so now it's a big African push. The push on our children and our people. It's a ton. Every other song is a Hamite song now.
That's right.
On the radio.
That's
you
right.
understand? And they in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Eagles, who's real good now and popular, they put up some money and took a bunch of young Black boys from Philly all the way to Ghana. You understand? Had them dancing and taking pictures with the Hamites, young Hamite boys, and eating the fufu with their hands and smiling and teaching them, like, see, this is what you're supposed to be thinking about. These are your people. This is who you are. They took a group picture with Ham, and I could have picked out every Hamite child in the group because they look nothing like us. You understand? Heads are different. The hair ball up in peas a little different. You understand? The skin, like their brown is not our brown. You understand? It's a totally different spirit on them. But these young Black kids will look at them and say, these are my people. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And acting like them. They're going to come back to Philly looking for fufu. Right. You understand? And so this is a big push on that narrative, General Q, of twisting our minds back to Africa. You understand? To, again, mislead us because they want another 400 years. Right.
Listen, give it up for Jeremiah. I'm coming to you right now. Let me just say one thing. What you're saying is so heavy because I remember growing up back in the day. And back in the day when I was growing up, they had tons of back to Africa trips where they were sending you to Egypt. It was financed by UNESCO. UNESCO had you going, they were taking droves of Black boys and Black girls to Egypt, showing them the pyramids and all that, and making them think in their mind, you're an Egyptian. And so now we come back worshiping the Egyptian way of life instead of finding out our own identity. And that's exactly what that does in Africa. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing to take our children to show them another culture when we don't have our own. Like, that's good for the other nations because they got their own land, their own culture, their own identity, their own language, their own way of life. But for us, it's the worst thing in the world because we don't have our land, our language, our identity. We don't have those things. So why would you show us somebody else's instead of showing us ours? That's the most important. Go ahead, Oxalaki. Grab that mic.
So like I said, just on the back of what the general said about October being Black History Month in the UK, like a lot of brothers in the world, me myself as well, we used to feel like Black people come from popular cities like Manchester, London, Birmingham, Leicester, Bristol. So Black History Month in October, we're proud. We see Martin Luther King's picture in the shops. We think we made it far. We think we made it from Windrush, and now we got, you know, a month where everyone acknowledges us. But then as I got older, I started to travel. Like we're from cities where white people can stomach us. So we think, well, he's cool. As I got older, I started to travel. I know other city even knows about Black History Month. October, you go to the shops, they're preparing for Halloween. Martin Luther King's picture ain't in the stores, but jack-o'-lanterns are, pumpkins are. And it goes to show we just grow up in certain cities where, you know, it's multicultural. So we think, well, presses are cool, but the whole country don't know about Black History Month, just certain areas.
And listen, I bet you, damn right. And I bet you, if they was to be honest and you sat down with them, they would all think that those blacks in London and Birmingham and them inner cities, that they all criminals and drug dealers and rapists and this and that. They probably, the propaganda probably going to them with no filter, where they ain't even seeing you. So their image of you is totally different. And it's the same in America. You go 10 miles outside of any major city in America, and it's a whole different atmosphere of Edomites. And when they see you, all they could think of is you just a criminal or what you up to. You know what I mean? That's why black people have so much trouble driving, because the minute they leave the major city and get out into the country, they getting pulled over. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you must be the criminal. You know what I'm saying? So it's a mess.
And if I could, so that's why it's very important for everybody in here, you know, everybody listening to this show. When you find out you're a Hebrew Israelite, you got to hold on to your heritage, man. 2 Maccabees 2:64 says, "Be valiant for the law that is given to you." I'm paraphrasing, man. And that's how you got to be for this law. You can't include nobody in it. It was heavy how Commander Yahanna brought out that now all these cats got Hamites within their organization, man. And that ain't how it's supposed to be. You got to stand for this truth and stand for real hardcore. The word valiant is something we don't really know about, except for in the I.S.U.P.K. But the word valiant means a lot. That's a man of honor. And our oppressor really expound on that word about them, how valiant they are, how much warriors they are to stand for what they was given from their ancestors. But what about you? You know what I mean? That's why in 1 Maccabees 2:64 is so heavy, such a heavy scripture. It'll tell you for you to be that way. You know what I mean? What your ancestors gave you. You come in here and learn who you are now. Now it's time to be a man, really. To be valiant for what was given to you and not let no other nation in on what God gave to the 12 tribes, the nation of Israel, blacks, Hispanics, and Indians. That's right.
So with that, we're going to get ready to wrap it up. I.S.U.P.K.com's website. Pay your tithe. Support the truth. Keep this work going all over the world. Big shout out to all the brothers and sisters here in the UK that really put their thing down, man, that built this school up. We got it going on. I want to give a big shout out to everybody that supported us on the whole Scotland trip, man. The King James Castle, man. Y'all came out for that. Put your money up and did the thing, man. It was a beautiful experience. We appreciate it. All right. General Micah Allah will be in the building teaching a brotherhood class tomorrow. Usual time. Check your listings for that. He'll be bringing that forth. I want to thank the heavy hitters for coming in. General Muhammad, give it up, y'all. Give it up. General Micah Allah, give it up. General Azar Young, give it up. General Q, Kabbalah, give it up. And that's General Micah Allah. I still be saying cops a lot. General Micah Allah. All right. And big shout out, of course, to all the captains. Big shout out to Captain Mashak, man. Over there quietly, working the whole UK thing. The stress fitting the killing. Yeah, man. Doing his thing, man. You know what I mean? And big shout out to the sisters that cooked that wonderful meal. I'm going to get off this podium. I'm coming straight for the plates. I'm going straight for the